In recent years, the topic of National Hockey League expansion has truly gained new momentum, particularly after the successful launches of the franchises in Las Vegas and Seattle, which once again placed the league at the center of discussions about whether it should return to the idea of increasing the number of teams to 34 or more. And although official NHL representatives have not yet announced any concrete expansion plans for the coming seasons, recent public statements from league executives, analysis of insider reports, and growing fan interest in Canadian cities are pushing analysts and supporters toward a deeper examination of potential markets where top-level professional hockey could once again take root after decades without new Canadian franchises beyond the existing 7 in Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. One of the primary focal points of these discussions remains Quebec City, which has long been regarded as a classic hockey market with a rich NHL history dating back to the era of the Quebec Nordiques before the franchise was forced to relocate in 1995. And while repeated public statements have emphasized that the league currently has no official expansion plans, ongoing negotiations between the provincial government and NHL leadership indicate that interest in bringing a team back to Quebec City remains very much alive, particularly because the city continues to stand out as one of the few markets already equipped with a mature hockey culture, professional training infrastructure, and a modern arena capable of hosting top-level competition, making it both a logical and emotionally powerful candidate for fans across Canada.
The second most frequently mentioned market among analysts and fans is Hamilton, which lies in close proximity to the Greater Toronto Area and has long been viewed as the missing major hockey market in Ontario, supported by the presence of Copps Coliseum, built in 1985 and technically suitable for hosting NHL games, as well as by decades of efforts to attract a franchise, reinforced by public surveys and sustained discussions on specialized forums where local residents have repeatedly emphasized that the existence of a large fan base so close to the Maple Leafs and other major centers makes Hamilton an appealing expansion destination, even as its closeness to other teams and competition for broadcast territories create certain challenges that the league must carefully weigh when selecting its next host city. Equally active in recent years has been the discussion surrounding the potential emergence of an NHL team in Halifax, the capital of Nova Scotia, as the city of more than 400,000 residents has demonstrated a steadily growing passion for hockey, clearly evidenced by the packed and energetic crowds at international events such as the World Junior Championships, which drew record attention and proved that the hockey atmosphere there can rival that of much larger markets, even though the Scotiabank Centre was not originally designed to accommodate a full NHL schedule, and the question of building new infrastructure remains central to any future plans. Nevertheless, experts note that the presence of a strong hockey culture and robust community support positions Halifax as a highly promising candidate for the league's long-term expansion initiatives along Canada's Atlantic coast. Another promising, though less obvious market remains Saskatoon in the province of Saskatchewan, where historical efforts to attract the NHL have included ambitious plans in the 1980s to construct an 18,000-seat arena with the intention of relocating an existing franchise, a project that ultimately never advanced beyond preliminary discussions, and to this day, concerns surrounding infrastructure and long-term economic sustainability continue to represent the main limitations, despite the presence of the sizable SaskTel Centre and an active community of hockey supporters. Analysts emphasize that such mid-size markets may become intriguing experimental platforms for NHL expansion, particularly if the league seeks greater regional diversity and broader television reach by engaging audiences beyond the traditional hockey strongholds. Nevertheless, despite the numerous discussions and the absence of any official announcements from NHL leadership regarding the start of an expansion process, several internal sources and media publications confirm that League Vice President Bill Daly has recently acknowledged a serious level of interest in expansion from business groups, implying that informal negotiations are ongoing and that the groundwork for potential new franchises may already be taking shape, even though no specific cities were named.
Meanwhile, media attention continues to focus primarily on the aforementioned Canadian markets, which for years have been discussed as leading candidates for future league membership, indicating that the question of NHL expansion in Canada remains very much alive in the public sphere and could once again move to the forefront in the coming years should economic conditions improve and investments in arena construction and modernization become both realistic and sustainable. In addition, public opinion polls suggest that among Canadian fans, the most sought-after candidates for a future franchise remain Quebec City and Halifax, with some surveys showing that support for the return of the NHL to Quebec City significantly exceeds that for Hamilton and Saskatoon, underscoring the deep emotional and cultural importance of hockey for the people of Quebec and for the country as a whole. Such sentiment plays a meaningful role in shaping perceptions of potential markets, given that the NHL, as a professional sports league, consistently evaluates not only economic indicators but also social signals that can help forecast long-term interest in a new club. In conclusion, it should be noted that although the NHL has not yet officially announced a timeline or formal launch of expansion and remains focused on strengthening its current 32 franchises while advancing its international initiatives, the intensity of debate surrounding potential Canadian cities, led by Quebec City, Halifax, Hamilton, and Saskatoon, demonstrates that this issue continues to occupy a central place in hockey circles, drawing sustained attention from investors, fans, and media alike. And once the combination of economic, infrastructural, and organizational conditions becomes more favorable, it is entirely plausible that within the next decade, we will witness the long-anticipated Canadian expansion of the NHL, an expansion that would not only reinforce the league's connection to its historical roots, but also usher in a new era of professional hockey across Canada. In the final analysis, it is important to emphasize that the question of potential NHL expansion in Canada cannot be viewed solely as a nostalgic or emotional demand from fans, since the league's real decisions are always directly shaped by economic realities, television contracts, the interests of major investors, and the willingness of regional governments to invest in infrastructure. And it is within this context that Quebec City continues to stand out as the most obvious, logical, and historically justified candidate, as the city already possesses a modern arena, a stable fan base, and strong political support, advantages that some other markets do not share, where issues related to new construction or competition over broadcast territories could become decisive obstacles to the arrival of an NHL franchise in the near future. At the same time, Halifax cannot be overlooked, as although it is considered a smaller market, it has demonstrated steady growth in hockey interest in recent years, confirmed by the success of international tournaments, consistent game attendance, and a high level of community engagement, positioning the city as a potential strategic gateway for expanding the league's presence along the eastern side of the continent, particularly if the NHL chooses to prioritize geographic balance alongside immediate financial returns. Hamilton and Saskatoon, for their part, remain more conditional candidates, whose rise to prominence would depend on the convergence of several factors: the emergence of a strong ownership group, guaranteed support from broadcasting partners, and the absence of firm resistance from existing clubs protecting their economic territories, making their prospects significantly more uncertain and reinforcing the reality that the NHL's ultimate decision will be driven not only by hockey tradition, but by strict, pragmatic calculation, in which emotion and history, for all their importance, inevitably give way to strategy and money.